Hey, what's up? It's Steve with the Range Minded Podcast. And I decided I'd make a video today. Do you like what I do with my hands? Is this annoying? Make you feel like I don't know what to do with my hands. Anyway, so actually 2025 started off with a bang, so to speak. We obviously had some issues in New Orleans and also and that was, I guess they were both on January 1st, right? New Orleans and Las Vegas. So because of that, I started wondering and thinking, do I need to make a video? Do I need to address this? Do I need to turn this into an episode, or do we just make it a normal video? So I decided I would just upload this as a video, not as a podcast. And then you just get a bonus episode. Maybe I'll probably still produce it as on the podcast form. For those of you on YouTube and Rumble, it'll just be a video, but I'll probably just throw it on as a bonus episode in the audio version. But with these events that just took place, and now we know for sure that the Bourbon Street terror attack was exactly that, a terror attack. I decided maybe we should address some things that I feel like could help you, or that you could use to help other people around you. We're going to be talking about things that we can do to prepare as concealed carry holders, as Pro 2A, as those being prepared. Things that we can do to improve ourselves and those around us. I came up with a list of 10 things that I think are pertinent to the situation that we're seeing. Now, I want you to understand, though, this video is in no way meant to be applied as training. Like, this is not any kind of legal advice. I'm not an attorney. I don't claim to be an attorney. I'm definitely not your attorney. But what I'm bringing up here are things that I think will hopefully make you think and change the way you think and see the world around you, so that you can be prepared for the what if or the when. So again, I came up with a list of 10 things that we can talk about that I'm going to share with you. I'd hope this video, I don't want to make it very long, so hopefully it flows pretty quickly, and we can just discuss these things. And I want you to really think about and do like an internal inventory of your skill sets and of the things that we're talking about. And maybe you grab a pen and paper, maybe something that, a way to jot things down, the things that you feel like, yeah, I do need to improve on that. And then you need to do some of your own homework as well. Like, you're going to have to find places to go. We're going to get to those things. You'll understand what I'm saying in a minute. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this video. Hopefully what I have to share is something meaningful and it'll help you think. Anyway, let's get to it. So the first thing I want to talk about is situational awareness. So what is situational awareness? I did a 5-minute tactical tip actually on this. If you didn't know, in the YouTube channel, I did a series, actually I think it's on Rumble too, but I did a series of videos called Tactical Tips. And situational awareness is one of those. So if you want to go a little bit more in depth, jump to that video later on and you can see what I'm talking about. Basically what situational awareness is you're paying attention to the world around you. You're looking for possible threats. You're always looking for exits, looking for places to hide, cover and concealment. We talk about that in that video as well. Just ways to be prepared in case something dangerous has happened. Not only are you paying attention to the world around you, but you're paying attention to the people within the world as well. I fear, my gut says that we're going to see more things like this, especially for some reason, and hopefully I'm wrong, but I feel like we're going to see more things like this, especially leading up to the inauguration of President Trump. I hope I am wrong with this. I'll be happy if I'm wrong with that prediction. But my gut says, hey, you need to be more focused on protecting your family and your friends. So as we go out into the world, put your phones away. Take the earphones out of your ears and pay attention. Look, listen, and feel. Okay? There's a reason that your gut, like people talk about gut instinct, There's a reason for that. That is actually a defensive mechanism that is part of our DNA. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. So pay attention to those emotions that you're feeling that way. Look at people, look at their characteristics, look at their mannerisms. There's some things that we can do. Bad guys, and I know I've talked about this before, bad guys do something called grooming before they're going to do some kind of nefarious act. You know, sometimes they'll scratch their face, or they'll look around to see if there's cameras or other people's watching. Those are indicators that they're going to do something. It's like playing cards with somebody and they have a tell. Before people do nefarious things, they have a tell. Unless they're very good at being bad guys and they've known how to bypass that circuitry that's hardwired into their brains, they have a tell. So pay attention to people. Again, look at people in the eye. Don't challenge people. Some dudes, bad dudes, they look at that as a challenge. Like, you know how they say don't look bears in the eyes because whatever, or mountain lions, they think that's a threat. I'm not saying to stare at them longingly into their eyes, but just make casual eye contact. That makes you less of a chance to be a victim. If a predator knows that you're there, it's harder for them to turn you into prey. So pay attention. Pay attention to everything. Not only is it good for the necessity of just knowing places to egress to or possible threats, but if you have to make a statement for some reason, maybe something does happen, if you're paying attention to the details, you're going to be a better witness. So start practicing that now. Look at Cooper's color codes. I'm not going to go into them in this video. It'll take too long. But look at the situational video that I did on tactical tips, and I go into Cooper's color codes. There are other great resources out there. There's tons of videos online, okay? But that's number one, is situational awareness, okay? Learn it, practice it, put it into your daily routine. Do it. I know that's not necessarily healthy for the soul, but it's the reality that we live in. So the reason why I say it this way, this is, by the way, this is number 2 on the list of things to do. And that's educating yourself on possible threats. Terrorism, in this aspect of this video, it's easy to look to see what terrorism has done in the past, or what the avenues of terror, what they do to create the effect, the method of operation, whatever you want to call it. Look at the October 7th thing in Israel, right? There was a shock and awe. They showed up. They did all sorts of crazy things. You think about the 20 years that we spent in the Middle East, or more than 20 years. You know, there's roadside bombs. There's mass shootings. There's even like what we saw in New Orleans, just driving a car through a crowd. We saw that in Germany the other day. Just a car driving through a crowd of people. Terrorism is an act that is meant to create fear. That's why they do it. They want to create fear and doubt. That gives them some sort of leverage, some sort of power. If they can keep people from doing things that they normally do, that gives them, in effect, some sort of power. So to help us combat that in the future, we need to pay attention at the methods being used. So as we're practicing our situational awareness, we can kind of war game these scenarios in places. Personally, I would not... I would have avoided, probably personally, places where there's more and more people. So I know that makes me somewhat of a hypocrite because I like being around people. For example, like SHOT Show, I love being around the busyness of the people. But that is also a great example of places that you probably should start avoiding, are places where there's going to be a lot of people. If you look again at the New Orleans thing, that is a mass casualty event meant to create fear in a large scale. So as we understand the motives, or the not the motives, but the way they create these terroristic acts, help us to change the way that we think. So another way we could do it again is, like I say, if we look at videos of Iraq or those places that we were in conflict forever, honestly, and I'll probably reference this more than once, is look at what's going on in South Africa. And if you don't know what's happening in South Africa, it is complete bedlam, but with violence. And I know you guys probably, what's bedlam? Bedlam is chaos, right? Lots of noise, a cacophony. Why are you saying all these big words? South Africa is in decline, societal decline, like you wouldn't believe. There's murders and robberies and carjackings and theft every day. And I know that's leans a little bit more on social decay and less on the terrorism scale, but a lot of the methods are the same. Look at things that terrorisms, it's like aneurysms and autisms. Look at the things that terrorists do so you can start avoiding places where they can enact those evil skills that they like to use. It's a mindset game. It's a way to change how we react and act. Another part of educating ourselves, unfortunately, again, this is why I say this kind of sucks, is we have to understand what's going on in current events to see if there is an uptick, if there's a change in violence and violent behavior. Now, I'm not saying get on Twitter, get on Instagram, get on Fox News for hours on end, because it'll suck the soul out of you. But we need to know what's going on. We need to know. Intel is imperative, right? We have to know what's going on around us so we can generate plans and be safe. Sticking our head in the sand does not mean that the threat's not there, but also getting so involved in the threat and neglecting our duties and our obligations is also unhealthy. So just be abreast of what's going on around society at the same time. Number 3 on the list is being consistent with carrying your life-saving tools. We all kind of go through phases, ebbs and flows of how we carry and what we carry. As society gets worse and worse, as the potential of threats get more and more, not just threats, but actually violent acts, as they become more frequent, which I hope they don't, but I fear that they will, we need to be more consistent with our concealed carry. I know some of you out there might have this mental block of carrying, whether it be a gun or a knife or pepper spray or anything. I've taught classes where I've had students obviously they've come to the class, but once they start getting into just scratching the surface, so I don't go deep in my classes. I mean, they're just basic classes. I've had students more than once tell me afterwards that they don't want to carry. And that's cool. I get it. But for those of us that are gaining the confidence or do have the confidence in carry, we need to be consistent with that carry. Not only the daily donning of whatever that life-saving tool might be, but the locations of where we carry those tools. I, for one, I prefer appendix carry. I know a lot of people fear that idea. Do what you do the way you feel necessary. I carry a knife. I really need to be more active about carrying some kind of medical equipment, and we're going to get into medical a little bit later. That's one of the things on the list. But nonetheless, we need to be consistent with carrying and the location and mode of those carries. Now that comes down to a lot of things, especially when we talk about firearm carry. We need to be picking a holster that we have confidence in that retains the weapon until we need to use it. We don't want to buy just some generic gun bucket from a big box store we buy it just because the gun fits in there without any kind of retention other than a cheesy strap with a snap. That's not what we're looking for. You need to buy quality equipment. So for Range Minded, we have the official holster for Range Minded is Hoftac Holsters out of Boise. Nick's a friend of mine. He's been on the show. Actually, he was a regular host on the show, but he's going crazy with his business. It's grown so much. He's a very busy individual. He has a holster now, which holds a bunch of different guns. It can be adjusted. Retention can be adjusted. And it's not just a generic holster like I just mentioned before. No, there is positive retention on that gun. It won't fall out. It's a pretty ingenious design. There's others out there. There's others been out there in the past especially, but Nick has done something different with his holster that it just works. It just works, man. Nonetheless, you don't have to buy that holster. I'm just saying that's a suggestion. Nonetheless, you need to buy good quality holsters. Now, I've noticed on TikTok there's an uptick on holsters. Nick's holsters are actually available. Hoftac holsters are available on TikTok. Those are ones I trust. Right? There's lots of others, good, reputable brands out there. You don't have to buy a Hoftac. There's tons of them out there. Don't buy a holster because it's affordable necessarily. It's cheap. Don't do that. Buy from a reputable brand that has great reviews, great customer service, that are going to take care and stand behind their product. That is a huge difference when it comes to carrying a gun, especially every day. The second thing you need to be concerned about after the holster is a quality gun belt. Don't buy shit. Just because you bought a belt at Walmart that says tactical doesn't mean that it is. For $10, no, it's not. It's not going to do the deal. You need to buy a belt that's going to help support the weight of the gun and the holster combined and disperse it on your waist property. It'll make all the difference in the world when you carry every day. I promise you, you will feel a difference. When it comes to carrying edged weapons, if that's something you want to do, there are a ton of options. I wouldn't buy a gas station knife. Could it get the job done? Yeah, probably. I'm going to do a video with Adam Boyce. We're going to talk about, he's been on the show before. Adam's a good friend of mine. We do a lot of training together. He talks about, he's an instructor for Martial Blade Concepts, which is all defensive use when it comes to knife. Probably my most favorite method of using a knife in defense. It's a great skill set to have, but you have to get that. We're going to talk about education a little bit later. Back to what a knife will do. You'd be surprised what a cheap, sharp object can do. I prefer something that's got a more gooder reputation. Something that's going to last. A good knife tends to be expensive, a little bit on the pricey side, but it'll hold an edge better. It's going to function better. It'll open easier. And there's other things that you can look at when it comes to a good quality knife. I personally carry a Spyderco, but you can carry whatever you can afford. Just buy the best equipment that your money can buy. Okay. I'm not saying going out and buy a Daniel Defense and then whatever, a Staccato and then, a $7,000 knife. I'm not saying that, but you need to have something. When it comes to other stuff like pepper spray or Kubotans or other things, that's fine. Buy from a reputable brand that has good reviews and good product and good customer service. Those things are important in the long run. So number 4 on my list is practice. Good, actual practice. Now, I'm going to lean this more to the firearm side because it's easier to practice with a firearm than it is with a knife. I guess you could set up targets in your basement and use your knife to cut holes in the target. I guess that's cool. But I think it's important for us to hit the range. Good range therapy. Yes, I understand, and maybe you need to understand or haven't thought about this. Range practice is not going to equate to good defensive shooting. That's not a one-to-one correlation. But what it does do is creates these neural pathways, what you might call muscle memory, but it creates these neural pathways to help us address our sights quicker, understand where our trigger breaks, how the grip feels right to have good results on the target downrange. The other thing you can do is get involved in like pistol competitions. Every state has some sort of a pistol league, USPSA, IPSC, something like that. There's always something out there for you to do. Yes, it gets expensive, and it's just going to get more expensive. But I think if you plan on carrying a life-saving tool, you should understand how to use it. If we're starting to carry more consistently, like we just talked about, we should be able to deploy those tools consistently as well. We're going to talk about training in a little bit. And maybe that should have come before this on the list, but we need to be able to learn skills, how to get the gun out of the holster quicker, how to get from holster to target. Now, that being said, because I know I'm going to piss somebody off with that comment, you're not going to win a race by drawing your holster, but any time advantage I can have, action is always faster than reaction. Anytime I can shave some reactive time, it's more chance that I have to survive some sort of an incident or an attack. So practicing at the range, actual live fire drills, and then practicing at home, dry fire, those two things combined will be immensely productive for your confidence and for those neural pathways that you need in a defensive situation. When it comes to knife stuff, honestly, check up Spartan Mode, spartanmode.com. That's Adam Boyce. Or anywhere that you can find a Marshall Blades concept instructor. That I would support that method over any other. There are a lot of great other kind of edge weapons instructors out there, but just do your homework. I'm not telling you who to go see. Just do your homework. There's things I can suggest. I guess I kind of did tell you to go find a Marshall Blades concept instructor. Do your homework. If you feel that's sufficient for your needs, that's cool. It's a choice you have to make, not me. I guess while we're at it, let's talk about instruction, education. This is probably the best place to put this in this video. Seek out the best instructors in your area that you can. How do we find these instructors? I believe I actually did a tactical tip on this thing as well. As you go to a gun shop, as you talk to your friends, that kind of thing, ask questions. Ask who's teaching classes in your area. Ask about the instructor. I promise you, if an instructor does something or it teaches in a way that sucks, they're going to know. The gun stores are going to know. Your friends are going to know if they've taken a class from there. They're going to know. Ask questions. Seek these individuals out that can give you the best instruction that you can afford. Good instruction isn't cheap, but cheap instruction isn't good. The things you want to be developing to, and it takes time, especially when we're talking about good defensive handgun skills. It takes time to develop those skills. You're not going to go to a class and learn your concealed carry class and defensive pistol class that you draw from a holster and move and shoot. That's not the same class, or it should not be the same class. I would caution you about that. There should be skills that are learned and developed in each class to progress towards drawing from the holster, moving and shooting, dynamic pistol skills, that kind of stuff. It takes time. That should be multiple classes because there's a lot to digest in that information. Seek those instructors out and then pay attention. Get involved in those classes and pay attention. Take notes. And then those skills that they teach you in that class, practice those skills when it comes to dry fire and live fire at the range or at home. Develop those skills. Create those neural pathways and cement those skills into your brain. Action is always faster than reaction. So by shaving some time down in our reactive times, it could be life, okay? Same thing when it comes to edge weapons, right? We talked about that just a second ago. Find good instructors that teach you solid and legally foundational skills. I should throw that in there. You want somebody that can teach and present things to you that teach you legal ways of using that force, especially when it comes to edge weapon. There's a lot of stuff out there that dances on the line of defense. It might be kind of tough to consider some of the skills they teach as defense. Life-saving, 100%. They are life-saving skills. And in a terroristic perspective, I'm probably not going to care about that. I'll use whatever skills I need to use to keep me and my family and friends alive. But again, it's not me that we're talking about. It's you guys. It's your skills that I want you to develop. So number 5 on my list is medical training. And this one I cannot stress enough. And maybe you need to learn these skills before you learn the actual hard skills of making gashes and holes. Medical training, in my experience, my favorite classes have been the medical classes by far. You are far more likely to need your tourniquet than your handgun in a situation. First of all, I want you to look for Stop the Bleed classes in your area. That's the number one class I want you to find. Stop the Bleed. Once you learn the basic Stop the Bleed stuff, the CPR classes, they've kind of changed. They're not necessarily CPR anymore. In fact, a lot of the stuff that they would probably teach you in the older CPR classes, some of that stuff's gone away, and it's probably incorporated in the Stop the Bleed. But nonetheless, Stop the Bleed, number one. The next thing I want you to look for, and these classes usually are not cheap, are some kind of a trauma class, like a TCCC is what they did in the military. You're not going to take a TCCC class because, I mean, that's like several days. I took a TCCC class. It was actually a TCCC instructor, was friends with an instructor friend of mine, and he set up a kind of condensed version of TCCC. Just basically the skills that we would need in a civilian situation: packing wounds, applying tourniquets, finding wounds, blood sweeps, that kind of thing. Nasal ephalangeals. Like, he actually showed us how to decompress a lung, but I would never personally do that. I don't have. In fact, you should never do that unless you absolutely know how to do that. That could be extremely dangerous. Nonetheless, he taught us these life-saving skills that, like I say, that was probably my favorite class I've ever taken. I've taken other medical classes since then, and I love those too. They're a ton of fun. To me, it's amazing the things that the body does to defend itself against wounds, but it's hard to, you're probably not going to survive a gunshot wound if you're not careful. I don't know. I guess that's not fair to me to say, because I'm not in that situation in that moment. But learning how to, again, apply tourniquets, apply combat gauze, stuffing wounds, that kind of thing, very important. Find those classes, take those classes, develop an emergency trauma kits that you can put in your car and in your home. Like I say, you're going to need that stuff far before, hopefully anyways, that you're going to need some of those hard skills tools, like, defensive tools. It's imperative. Let me put this in here as well, because you might be wondering, where do I find these classes? Talk to an EMS, maybe call EMS. Not 911. Don't do that. But maybe contact EMS and say, hey, I'm interested in learning some of these skills. Where do I find them? Hospitals often do Stop the Bleed classes, or even talk to your local doctor, your family practitioner. He might have some leads on some of these classes that you can take. I want to say sometimes hospitals do like the Stop the Bleed class for free. There's probably some resources online. I tend to stay away from those because there's no hands-on skills. You need to actually physically do some of these things in training to really comprehend the why of, like, the tourniquet. Like, why do I apply it where I apply it? Like, how does it feel? In live classes, a good live trauma class, you're going to be applying tourniquets, training tourniquets. There's no real wounds, but you're going to be applying tourniquets, and you're going to have tourniquets applied to you so you can really understand the why. Okay, that's why it's so important to find good, competent, like first aid instructors. Like I say, it's totally worth its weight in gold. So while we're talking about using a defensive tool, knife, whatever, gun, whatever, plus the medical side of things, this is a great place to talk about the legal side of things. Again, I am not an attorney. I do not understand all your state laws or your city laws, whatever. You have to do your due diligence to explore and understand those laws. Maybe consult an attorney if you need to. All of us need to understand what the laws are in our area, whether it be for use of lethal force, if there's castle doctrine or stand your ground. What are some of the potential repercussions of doing medical on somebody or not doing, performing some kind of medical on somebody else? These are things that you personally have to investigate and understand. We live in a litigious world. This country is Sue happy. And I'm not talking about the boy named Sue like Johnny Cash sang about. No, I'm talking about legal problems. Please do your due diligence and understand what those laws, whether it be city or state, municipality. Yeah, that's the word. And some of the nationwide stuff. Sometimes when we think we're helping, and maybe we are, but other people don't look at it that way, and it can put us in some real legal jeopardy that ends up being a mass deficit to your well-being and your family's future, if that makes sense. Understand those state laws. Understand your laws and what you can and can't do. That's all I'm trying to say. With that, I just thought of something. Do we want to get involved in the prepaid legal world? Now, I'm not going to suggest any. There's lots of prepaid legal or defense insurance, whatever you want to call it, out there. I'm not going to say this X brand of defensive insurance is the best for you. I'm not going to say that. Again, you have to look and see what is best for you and determine, yeah, that cost, these benefits, I can do that. There's lots of them out there. Just Google it. You'll find some in your areas. Honestly, if you go to a shooting range or maybe even some of these medical classes, they might have some that they'll suggest to you, but I'm not going to say this is the company that's best for you. But it probably is worth, if you can afford it, having some kind of prepaid legal just in case. There's jails are full. In fact, when we talked to Steve Yerger a few episodes ago in the podcast, there's lots of folks sitting in jail for doing what they believed was the right thing, but the courts felt otherwise. Even if it was the right thing and the courts felt otherwise. So it can be expensive. Yeah, I get it. But so can be, a jail can be expensive for your family while you're gone for, 10 years or whatever. So pay attention to that as well. So this is another huge one that you need to integrate now, starting today or whenever you're watching this video, is creating an emergency action plan. There's a lot of contingencies when it comes to creating an emergency action plan. We can create one for our home or for when we're at work, or if we have children in school, we have to find ways to create a contingency for a plan for that as well. We need to, let's just talk about an emergency action plan for our home. We need to consider where our kids are, whether upstairs, downstairs, if we have pets, if we have alarms. All these things need to be considered. I think we may have done, if I haven't done a tactical tip on that, I'll do a tactical tip on making an emergency action plan. Basically what it is creating a safety plan for your family. If something was to happen where you can all meet together, whether it be in a home or a place in your community, where you can meet together at a certain time frame and work together from there. It's probably too complicated to talk about in this video because I'm trying to keep it somewhat concise. We'll do a video on it. Or there's actually USCCA has a pretty good template for an emergency action plan. I do like what they have there for that. There's probably other sources online as well. But you need to create that safety plan for your family, and you need to inform your family that you're doing so. People that you've included in the plan need to know the plan as well. And it should include whether it be a home invasion or a active shooter or a fire or an earthquake or a tornado. Like, you got to think about all these things and how that contingency plays into the ultimate goal of that safety plan. It's a little complicated, but it's probably necessary. Especially when you think about, let's jump back to, let's go to the Trump Tower thing, for example. If, say I was at SHOT Show and I was staying at Trump Tower and that went down something different, I would have to think about how I would implement my safety plan to be able to get home safely. There's so many spinning wheels. It's impossible to think of every scenario. But we have to do something. We have to create some kind of a plan. And a good place to start is something basic like just inside the home. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Look for templates online. Again, I like USCCA has like this template. I'm pretty sure you can get it online for free. I don't know. I'd have to look. All right. This next one is another big one, and maybe I'll offend some of you with this. This is something I've personally worked on for the last 8 weeks, actually, is physical health, physical fitness. We Americans are fat asses. I'm just going to come straight out with it. Most of you listening are probably either overweight or out of shape, me included. Like I said, I've been working on this for the last 8 weeks. I've lost 10 pounds, by the way. New Year's resolutions always take place, right? I'm going to work out. I'm going to get healthy. Those usually last for like 9 days. And then people forget about them. 9 days. Yes, it's hard at first to make a change to our physical health. It is hard because it's so easy to sit down and binge eat whatever we're going to, potato chips and watch TV. It's super easy and it's relaxing. But it's inhibiting your ability to be the protector in your household or your community. Commit now to being more healthy. Commit to it. Do something about your physical health. Start with just walking. Pretty easy. Walk as far as you can if it's your first time in a long time. Walk to the stop sign and back. Walk to get your mail. When you go grocery shopping, park a little farther away. Walk in, get some steps in. Do what I did. Like I jumped in on a plan, and I work out at home. I don't go to the gym. I have no desire to go to the gym, but I have a lot of stuff at home, so I work out at home. My wife gets up at like 3:45 and works out. She's a saint. I don't know how she does that, but she gets up bright and early, and that's the very first thing she does. Work on your physical fitness, and I'm going to put on there as well your mental wellness as well. Read some books, listen to some books online. Start exercising that gray matter. As we're implementing some of this other stuff, taking more classes, that's going to help you learn as well. It's going to exercise that muscle in your head. Work on your physical and your mental fitness. That's important. If you can't run 100 yards, there might be an issue. Yeah, I understand adrenaline does crazy things. It can help you run a long ways really fast, but your heart's going to give out if you're not able to. If you need to pick something up and you're not strong, you're not going to be there. If you have to have a physical altercation with somebody for 30 seconds, 100%, that'll take the wind out of you. If you've ever done jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean. You'd roll around on the mat for 2 minutes, and you'll know what I mean. Get in shape. Start right now. Like, just do it. If you want to reach out to me personally, ask about the plan that I've been doing, some of the stuff I've been taking, let's do it. Reach out in the comments or direct message me, okay? We'll figure it out. It's been working for me. I'll just put it that way. So now we're at number 9 on the list. I know this has gone a lot longer than I hoped it would. So we're at number 9 on the list. 9 is communication skills. Now, I don't just mean communicating with your wife or communicating with your children. I'm talking about if an incident goes down, being able to communicate with the bad person, the predator, learning how to sound authoritative, learning the right words to use, being aggressive with your language if necessary. I joke about in church, if something was to happen in my church, yeah, I'm a church-going dude, believe it or not, I would use language that the members of my congregation would find highly offensive inside of a church. But in my opinion, that language is necessary to assert my authority to that person. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe you've taken care of a threat. Well, how are you going to communicate with the police officers when you call 911? What are the things that you should say? We can do a tactical video on that too. Maybe I did. We'll talk about that more because that could be a long conversation on its own. Learn those communication skills. The other thing, it's important to be able to communicate with other victims, especially if you're performing first aid. That's one of the things a good trauma class will teach you is how to talk to the person that you're giving treatment to, because that is actually quite a bit of information as well. Learning to talk about other people, communicate with other people that maybe are in the mass casualty event if there is one. There's a lot to communication. As we practice under stress, if we do things under stress and we communicate better, that helps us to stay calm and be the calm in the storm while other people may not be as calm. So those are some skills that you will need to develop. It's too much to talk about in this video. Do some research. I'm sure there's videos online about what to say and how to communicate in a scary situation if it arises. Do your due diligence there as well. If you can be calm, that helps a lot of other people in the stress as well. Let's talk real quick. This is the last one, number 10. Let's talk real quick about other things that you could carry or maybe should carry. Start to implement that as well. I already talked about knives and pepper spray and that kind of thing, which is great. But some of the other things that you should probably consider are some sort of a small flashlight. I remember hearing a story about 9/11, after 9/11, and this was a long time ago when I heard the story, so I hope I got it right. After some of the chaos, I don't think they were in the same building because they would have been dead, but one of the other buildings near one of the Twin Towers that fell, there was a lot of, obviously dust and rubble and stuff. This guy happened to have a small flashlight. I think they were like in an underground parking structure, if I remember right. Nonetheless, there was completely no light, right? All the electricity was out, complete darkness. But luckily, he had a small flashlight to navigate through all the chaos and mess in this parking structure to get out. So maybe implementing some sort of a flashlight. Yeah, I know now we have cell phones with flashlights, and that's great. Some of those lights are actually pretty awesome. But when we go from finding our way out of a dark garage where there's no threats, physical, like bad guy threats, maybe having something a little bit more powerful, brightness-wise, can be used as a good defensive tool. So if you have something that's over like 300 lumens, 500 lumens, maybe, in fact, I have something here that's a little bit bigger. Just happen to have this on my desk here. This is a Streamlight. I've had this flashlight for a long time, actually, but if you look at that, see how that bezel kind of has some different edges to it as a brightness tool, right? Boom, that's super bright, but I can use this as a striking tool if I need to as well. So it holds, there's a couple features there. Even some smaller pen lights are the same way. They make some awesome bright flashlights that are skinny, uses like a AA battery. It's probably enough, but you can use that if you need to as a striking tool as well. So there's some other benefits for carrying a flashlight. This one's pretty bulky. Like if you had a chest rig or a fanny pack or something, sure, this is probably fine to carry, but in your pocket, it might be a little much, but it's not me. You'd be carrying it. You have to make that decision, not me. We should probably talk about, there's a fine balance between practicality and preparedness. We could go on the practical side and say, yeah, I just need these basic things. I don't care what they are. I just need these. That's good. But maybe those things aren't the same as the preparedness side. There needs to be a balance here. Like being prepared tends to, I got to have 3 meals. I got to have 32 ounces of water. I got to have all this stuff. Where are you going to carry all that stuff? Where you could go down to just a filter, like a straw filter for water if you needed to, a small trauma kit, a flashlight, and I don't know, your handgun. You got to balance that. Having cool stuff is super cool, but you can't carry a lot of that stuff. And it might be restrictions at work or whatever, right? If you're a nurse, you're not going to be able to carry a whole bunch of stuff on your scrubs. It doesn't work out. So you got to kind of make that determination and add to or eliminate from those things to make you the most productive that you can be in an emergency situation. Some of that stuff you can obviously keep in your car. I would never keep a gun in your car. Don't just leave it in there. If you do, take all the gun stickers off your car. Don't have any indication that you're a gun person on your vehicle whatsoever. Okay, just don't. A lot of guns get stolen out of cars in the United States. It's like 150,000 a year. So it's like a ridiculous number of guns that get stolen out of cars. So don't do that. Don't leave your gun in your car. All right, let's bring this video to an end. I had to write these things down, so I'm going to look at them. Let's recap real quick. We'll just go one by one. Just as a summation, if you will. So number one thing, situational awareness. Okay, pay attention to your surroundings. Educate yourself on potential threats, knowing the methods of action that could happen, so you can prepare better. Being consistent with your everyday carry methods. Okay, carry every day. Get used to it. I know it's uncomfortable for some. Just get used to it. Spending time at the range, learning the way your firearm works, some good defensive classes and defensive training, and then implementing that training at the range. Getting good first aid and trauma classes, and then buying those things that you need to help you be effective in life-saving skills. Understanding the legal responsibilities if you do happen to act or don't act, what the legal repercussions could be in your state laws. Remember, I don't know the laws where you live. You have to do that research yourself. Getting better with your physical fitness. Get healthy, get in shape so you can be the protector that you need to be. Learning and understanding how to communicate with others, law enforcement, and others around if there is some sort of a situation. Good communication skills keep you and others calm around you. And then number 10 is carrying other supplemental equipment if you can. Flashlights, again, tourniquets if you can, whatever else, pepper spray, Kubotans, that kind of stuff. Other life-saving equipment if necessary. So anyway, these are the things that kind of came to mind, the 10 things that I think you should really work on, especially looking at what happened on January 1st compared to what could happen, which again, my gut kind of gives me a little uneasy feeling thinking that this could be a little bit crazy of a year. Please, if there's something you think I missed or I'm wrong on, I want to hear from you. I want to know where you think I missed on this list, or maybe where I should have added to this list. If you like this video, please share it with your friends. Make a plan. If you have a group of friends that are in your community that are trying to develop and be better, share this video with them. Then you can brainstorm and find out where these classes are that you need, where you're having some kind of shortfalls. Share it, learn, grow together, be a safer community. Be somebody that your family can count on, that your community can count on, and that you can count on yourself. Remember, you're going to be, they say that you're your first responder. I say that you're the immediate responder because you're there, and if you have the skills, you should be able to deploy those skills if necessary. Anyway, my name is Steve. This is Range Minded Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, comment, whatever, all that crap they say to help the algorithm. My goal for 2025 is to get up to 1,000 new listeners, followers to the show, whether it be on YouTube, Rumble, or just on the audio verse out there through podcast land. That'd be great if you could help. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to buy some patches, I got patches on my website, rangemindedpodcast.com. There's a shop there you can find all my fun patches that I made, and a place to reach out to me as well. Appreciate you guys. Remember, you got to take somebody shooting and stay range-minded. Be safe out there.